Welcome everyone. It's Shari Carroll for Simon Says Stamp, and I'm here with the Funny Friday series with art impressions, and I'm making a Galentine's Day card. I'll be using these lovely ladies on a bench, and this is the Art Impressions Girlfriend stamp set. So to get this started, I'm using some Simon Says Stamp Black Intense ink, and I'm stamping this onto some Hammermill 100-pound cardstock for a crisp impression. I'll be coloring in my happy ladies with some Copic markers, starting with the skin tones. I know these colors can be difficult to figure out, so I have those listed in the description box below. So then I will move on to some of the clothing, and from here I've used some warm tones and some also blues and greens, and just picked colors that I thought fit the personality of my ladies. Some of my colors, I don't have a mid-tone between the light and the dark, so here I'm just touching my light marker to my dark marker to get a variation in between. And to finish them off, I added their fabulous lipstick. I don't have a die for this stamp set, so I'm using my Simon Says Stamp fine detail scissors to cut a little small border around the image. And when I'm done, I have my finished image of my girlfriends on the bench. Next, I'm getting ready to stamp a couple messages, and I'm using the Simon Says Stamp You're My Gal. And the first one says Happy Galentine's Day, and then Sisters Before Misters. Since I'll be heat embossing on this panel, I'm going to use my anti-static bag and just roll over the areas where I'll be stamping. And then I'll be using the Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing and Watermark ink, and I'll ink up my stamp really well. Next, I want to press this down really solidly onto that background panel, and then generously sprinkle on or pour on my white embossing powder and tap off the excess. And finally, I can heat set this to a glossy finish. I'm getting ready to do the slider element, and for this I'm using the slider plate from Simon Says Stamp, and I'm going to position my slider onto my cardstock, and I want to have it to where those ladies cover up the Sisters Before Misters. To make sure everything's straight, I'm using the Simon Says Stamp 6-inch straight edge and making sure that die fits right up to that edge. Once that's die cut, I can remove my low tack tape from Simon Says Stamp. And now I can start getting ready to add my gliders. So these are the rotating gliders, and I'm adding just a little bit of the red line tape to each of those gliders. And how these work is that I can slide these into those channels by feeding in one side, bending it just very slightly, and feeding in the second side. Again, I'll feed in the right side and make sure that you're in the center of that channel. It'll go in a lot easier, and feed those in. I want to remove the backing of the red line tape, and now I'm going to use one of those die cut channels that came from the original piece, and I'll set this along both of those gliders. Next, I'll be using some more red line tape, and I'm putting this on that little channel piece that we put on top of the gliders, and then I can trim off the excess. To put my gal friends onto the card, I have my sliders set all the way at the top, and I'm going to place these down to where I can see the Sisters Before Misters. So this is extended all the way to the top, and now I can press this down onto the connector and glider pieces. I've added some strips of foam tape to the back, and I make sure that I have those channels clear of any of that foam tape. Now I want to measure where I need my piece to stop. So I want to cover up the Sisters Before Misters, but I still want to see the Happy Galentines. So by holding that in place and flipping it over, I can now add a couple of foam squares to the bottom, and these will act as a little stopper so that my girls won't slip down and cover up the message. And now I can remove the backing of my foam tape and place this onto a top folding A2 Simon Says Stamp note card. In the slider plate die set, there's also a little pull tab, and for this I've cut it out with white cardstock, and I've added a little bit of Simon Says Stamp craft tacky glue to the bottom of the pull tab, and I can feed this under my image and push down a bit until that glue grabs hold. As I was looking at my card, I felt it needed something else, so there's a tiny heart in the stamp set, and to stamp this I'm using the lid to my glue bottle. And I'll be doing some watermark stamping, so I'm using the Simon Says Stamp Clear Embossing ink. And I'll just be stamping about 5 hearts randomly around the top for the ladies. This background paper is the Desert Storm from Nina, and it's really beautiful to do either watermark or the white embossing. And finally, I'm using my white pen just to add some highlights to each side of the heart. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial using our slider plate with art impression stamps to create a fun, interactive card that might give you a little giggle. I hope you have a fantastic Galentine's Day, sharing some fun times with good friends. And as always, thanks so much for watching.
Hi there, I'm Heidi, Simon's mama and founder at simonsaysstamp.com. Thank you so much for watching our video. If you like what you just saw, be sure to press the thumbs up and subscribe to see more great content.